creates an expansion of gas, inflating the bag as it bursts from its housing at up to 320 kilometers an hour. Once fitted, airbags were saving 1,500 lives a year. But a darker side to the airbag story was about to emerge. The regulations required airbag tests to be conducted only with a dummy representing the average male, weighing approximately 72 kilos and 1 3/4 meters tall. Crash scientists were about to discover that airbags still left the most vulnerable part of the population at risk. Detonating at more than 320 kilometers an hour, they're violent enough to amputate fingers, fracture bones in the arm and face, and even kill. They're designed to hit an average man in the chest, but they may hit shorter people in the face. Grieving families set up a pressure group, forcing the car industry to post prominent warnings about the dangers airbags pose to children. And the advice was emphatic: never seat a child in front of an airbag. But it wasn't just children that were being injured. Lighter weight adults, mostly women, were victims too. But scientists have developed a solution: automated systems that weigh and scan passengers and then adjust the deployment pressure of the airbag. The best way to test safety features is the crash test.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The ultimate stage in the car manufacturer's safety strategy. Today, each and every model is tested to destruction. Again and again and again. Rear shunts, side impact, pedestrian impact, culminating in the head-on collision. Each and every crash test costs over $100,000. Here at Volvo's safety headquarters in Sweden, scientists crash over 400 cars a year. Every wrecked car is given a meticulous post-crash examination and then stored in a wreck depository. It takes the Volvo crash test team 6 hours to prepare a car. This one will recreate a typical and severe side impact. The stationary vehicle carries 2 occupants, a driver and front passenger. It will be hit on the passenger side by a vehicle traveling at 96 kilometers an hour. 20 high-speed cameras shooting 3,000 frames per second are mounted inside and all around the car. These high-speed cameras require powerful illumination. Each one of the 32 lights throws out 8 kilowatts of power. In fact, they're so bright that they're switched on just 5 seconds before impact. Otherwise, they'd blow. The car is wired with 200 different sensors feeding data back to the control room. It may take 6 hours to prepare a car for a crash test, but the collision is over in the blink of an eye, just 300 milliseconds. And the data takes a full 3 weeks to analyze. It's the job of Thomas Broberg to dissect the destruction of this side impact crash.
What you measure in the side impact is the acceleration of the head, forces and deflection on the chest, and forces on the pelvic and on the legs. And based on biomechanical data, there is like levels set as to how much the standard human can take.
But a crash test is still just a laboratory experiment. And sometimes, a step forward in safety can reveal a whole new danger. This was made tragically clear in the late 1980s, a time when cars were protecting drivers more than ever before. And for the first time in its history, survival odds were actually on the increase. But something else was wrong. Victims of serious side impact crashes were surviving only to fall into a coma hours later, often resulting in permanent brain damage. Then human crash impact analyses revealed that while forward movement didn't result in coma, violent sideways motion did. During side impact, the two hemispheres of the brain are stretched across their connection. And as the neural fibers are pulled to breaking point, they become irreparably damaged, and the brain begins to swell. Coma and even death can follow. In an effort to moderate these effects, car manufacturers are now focusing on side impact protection. But they face a whole new set of challenges. They've got just 6 inches of space within which to mitigate the effects of a side impact. But they're determined to succeed. As Ingrid Skogsmo from Volvo explains.
In 1991, we introduced the side impact protection system, which is a structural system where you have a lot of load being transferred throughout the vehicle from the impacted side. If that doesn't do all the job, in 1994, Volvo introduced a side impact airbag in the seat that would blow up and protect your chest. Still, you then had the head, which needed protection. So in 1998, an inflatable curtain that falls out of the roof was invented and presented in a Volvo car.
Since 1998, all new European cars must pass a side impact crash test. These experiments in impact damage are a way of relating lab data to the real-life situations that millions of drivers face every day. Volvo's safety expert John Frederick Gronvall is computer-linked 24 hours a day to the local emergency services called to a road accident. When there's a real-life crash, ambulances rush to the scene. And if one of the cars involved is a Volvo, John Frederick is notified. He decides whether or not to send a forensic team out to the site to collect data from the crash. They document road conditions and take measurements. Then the car is brought into the lab for detailed examination.
Here we have a car being impacted from the side in a quite severe accident here, side impact. Because of the side impact protection system, you can see that there was enough survival space here. Even though the impact was very severe, we have this strong structural parts here that protect with a safety cage. And interiorly, the seat is being pushed sideways so that we can increase the survival space here.
The data gathered by his research team is then fed back into the crash test computers, helping to design and modify crash tests in the future.
In the laboratory, we have dummies. In real-life situations, we have real human beings. And our job is to connect dummy measurements with actual injuries.
John Frederick and his team can now take 50 years of data and reconfigure it with newly developed software that actually creates a virtual crash test. Supercomputer simulations have made it possible to determine how a vehicle will behave in a crash more rapidly and in far greater detail. So, bringing all the results together, what have the doctors, scientists and car manufacturers concluded? How should they design the ultimate safe car? In fact, the most significant discovery has been that, as a rule, drivers are careless. Ultimately, driver error is to blame in most accidents. So the quest to develop the safest car in the world is focusing on removing control from the wheel